time it is. It's time for episode 7 of The Young and the Rowdies. I've been giving it to you hot. We've had some great episodes and great content. Thank you guys so much for the love and support. But basketball season is right around the corner, November 9th. If you guys aren't locked in to have that date circled on your calendar, you're missing out. We all love college basketball, especially when it comes to college, to March Madness. But before we get into that, another story, another life of a Gator that I wanted to introduce you guys to. And, you know, it's the preseason, so we're doing things a little bit unorthodox. But I wanted to take this time to highlight some people that contribute to the organization but aren't necessarily seen by the fans or get all the credit and the recognition they deserve. We're talking about the team managers, the guys that are the backbones of the organization that really help, especially in this last year in 2020 with COVID, the adjustments they had to make in order to help the team become the best they could. They were the glue of the organization this year, and I had a chance to be around these guys. And actually, the guest that we're going to interview today, when I was still playing, he worked me out a few times during my freshman year, which was pretty awesome. And it's really cool, full circle, getting a chance to interview him again here. But before we get into the guest for today's episode, everyone please subscribe, follow the Field of 68 Media Network, as well as the Young and the Rowdies, bringing you this content hot on a platter every Thursday. So please continue to love and support and share this podcast with anyone else that you think would love it and enjoy it, especially on the Field of 68 Media Network. If you know any other sports buffs, a lot of other universities are represented on the platform as well. But without further ado, let's get to this episode. Introducing our third year manager. How you doing, my guy? What's happening?
I'm doing great. Just finished the practice. We're good. Everything's good. The Gators are good.
The Gators are great, man. You already know it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Always.
I highly respect the background and just the whole setup. That was a great move. That's exactly what P Money did on his a few weeks ago. I really enjoyed talking to P. He's got some great freaking stories. Yeah. But I'm super excited to dive into your perspective and your life. And you know, as I was planning for this episode, I was like, what does a fan want to hear from somebody that they probably don't really think of when they think Florida basketball? They're thinking coaches, they're thinking players, they might be thinking the athletic director, they might be thinking, they're not really thinking about the trainer, but you know, when you go to a game, you know, you always, you know, I know you guys, like you guys are always dressed up in the khakis or a certain color Gator shirt, and just really there to serve and help the guys, you know, and making it so much easier for them. But yeah, man, thank you so much for this time, bro. Really excited to dive in on your story and what it's like being part of the team.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So what's how's it been, you know, going into preparing for this season? I know things are different, obviously. You know, regarding you go from one season preparing where things were so different because of COVID to now this upcoming season where you get, not only do you have 8 new guys, you also have new different rules in the sense of when practice, you know, you're practicing sooner. You know, how is it that you guys just adjust and just keep with the times and, you know, stay motivated and all that stuff?
I mean, it's definitely weird. So my first year was 2 years ago. It was normal. Like there was no COVID. It was the way it was supposed to be. And for me, I took it to learn everything. There wasn't much of me running the show. I didn't have too much responsibility. It was really a year where I just had to learn everything. COVID threw that all off, and now we're back to the way it's supposed to be. So it's a little weird for me because we're doing things, and although it's my third year, I'm like, wait, this is how we did it my first year. Like it's a quick refresher. It's a little weird. But no, I think the guys who have been here in the past, the other managers who have left, have taught me plenty of things, and the coaches have taught me plenty of things. That being said, it's just like basketball. Anything that comes your way, you just got to adjust. And with the new guys, it's been great.
Yeah.
They're great people. I love having a good relationship with all of the players and trying to meet them and finding out what they like and just meeting them as people.
Yeah.
So it's been good. There's definitely obviously an adjustment, and it's not just me. The whole team has to adjust to not having COVID again. But it's been great, and I don't know. I love it. I love helping the guys. I love helping the Gators. So
As you were just talking, and so the first thing that came to mind was like, okay, the fans and people outside might not understand, the job description and everything in which you do. So what is, obviously it's one of those positions where, sometimes you're doing things that aren't in the job description, but, obviously you're in a position where you're helping, you're really facilitating and supporting the coaches, the staff, the JB, who's the assistant to the coach, as far as like the organizing and making sure the travel and getting stuff ready. Would you let the fans know that you guys are doing on a day in and day out basis?
So, in the simplest terms possible, a manager's job at Florida is to make sure that the coaches can coach and the players can play. That is it. Everything else in between is our job.
Okay.
Making sure balls are pumped, making sure the jerseys are ready for practice, the pads are ready, that the fridge is stocked. It is our job to make sure that everything is running smoothly so that Coach White, Coach Pastrana, Pinkins, everybody on the staff from Preston on can make sure that they're doing their job and that everybody on the team, the whole roster, can go out there and play basketball and not have to worry about anything else. There are plenty of things
Right.
that we do on a day. And to be completely honest, I'm going to come into work tomorrow and I have no idea what's going to be thrown our way.
Yeah.
It's what I love most about it. I'm going to wake up and there's going to be some task that we have to get done. But it really is. It's really just making sure that the coaches coach, the players play, and everything else in between, you got to get done.
It's
Just make sure.
the details, it's the
Yes.
details within those things that, that's where gratitude really comes into play because,
Mhm.
you as a player, and this is what I did. I hated it. I hated when I was there and guys would just do things to make the manager's jobs harder. And I'm like, these guys, like, they're volunteering. Like, they're getting great experience, but like we're just people that happen to play basketball and they're people as well. Like, we are no better than them. They deserve our complete respect because they help us do things that we wouldn't want to do. Because what's funny, this is one of those things where when I left Florida and I go on to play ball in Europe, where you just realize like how great you had it and how awesome it was. When I go over to play in Italy, there's no manager there. There's nobody focusing on those things that you said. Like, the court was never swept. One, like, bro, can you imagine?
Wow.
The court was never swept, bro. Like, it was unbelievable. And then this like, to this day, I get anxiety. So, and I'm super grateful. I don't want to sound like entitled or anything like that, but you could understand. Just imagine if we didn't have any loops. And when I'm talking about loops, I'm talking about laundry. Yeah, you see, if you guys are watching, you can see his face.
Wow. No way.
We didn't have any laundry loops. And the reason laundry loops were so important, guys, is that these laundry loops, you could clip all of your clothes together and your socks. So when whoever's going to wash it, it's super easy to get your stuff and know exactly where it's at. We didn't have that. So for my team in Italy, he had the guy it was a young kid actually that was washing our clothes. He would just put everybody's socks in this same basket, just completely mixed up. It would take you. It was at one point I was like, F this. I'm not looking through here. Like, what? Like, I'm not wasting 15 minutes before practice to deal with that. And I was like, man, I can't believe how spoiled I was back then that, this wasn't even a thought for me. But yeah, dude, it was wow.
That's crazy. I mean, the socks are the biggest thing too. Like the amount of laundry that I've done in my 3 years is crazy. There's a little like, just a little like loop, like within the loop for your socks. Oh my goodness. I could not imagine. I cannot imagine.
Scotty Wilbekin was always the worst at doing his loop. Oh my goodness. It would
Oh,
drive Kobe Donovan, it would drive him crazy.
I'm not going to name any names because I
No, we
love
gotta
these
call
guys,
anybody out.
but
I'm gonna call my guys out from
yes,
my time, but no, we're not calling any current guys
there
out.
are plenty of loose socks on a nightly basis.
And it's funny about that. It's like that's something they can control to make their lives easier.
Of
Because
course,
then it's like, and then where are my socks? My socks, bro. Like we're trying. You didn't put them on the loop right. We're trying to help you out. Oh
you get
man,
it, Pat. You get it.
dude, I get it. I absolutely do get it. So before we continue on, I want to dive into just your story and just how you got to where you are now. I know you're in your third year and have learned a lot, but I don't think you woke up one day and said, this is where you want to go. Not that it's not a great place to be, because this is a great, under the University of Florida basketball umbrella, so many people that have come through have gone on to do fantastic things, from coaching to graduate assistants to whatever it may be. And you get and that's another thing too. You get a chance to do a lot of skill development stuff on the court with the guys. So if that's a route you wanted to take, but before you even got to that, first off, where are you from?
So I'm from South Florida. I'm from Boca Raton. Um,
Old
my
man.
my grandfather started a basketball league 33 years ago, 32 years ago. So basketball is like in our blood. I was a huge Heat fan growing up, had season tickets, played high school, played middles, everything. And I reached a point, I probably would say my junior year, where I realized that playing basketball would come to an end. And I coached in a rec league, and I had probably the most fun experience possible
That's
coaching.
awesome.
And that's when I realized, like, okay, well, this is a route I've never really thought of taking. There's no coaching degree. Like, what is there to do? So I went on Twitter, I went on Instagram. You'd see these guys at games wiping the floor. You'd see these guys behind the bench, but they're not on the team website. Who are these people? Saw their managers. Fast forward a year to my senior year, applying to schools. I didn't really have a place that I really wanted to go. I applied to all the Florida schools. To be honest, I didn't think I was going to get into Florida. But when applying, one of our good family friends, name's Matt Ryder, had a good relationship with Coach Church and Coach May, who are now at FAU in Boca. So when I got in, he reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to get involved with the team, your best bet is to go through these guys over at FAU. So little chunky Max at the time, put on a blue polo and khakis, walked into FAU's basketball office without knowing. I didn't know who Kyle Church was. I didn't know Coach May. Akeem was there, who's now here, small world. And I sat down with them and just spoke to them and asked, how can I get involved at Florida? What do I have to do? Who do I have to speak to? Ben Gonzalez is a former manager here, who's their director of ops, gave me Caleb McKinley's number. Caleb got me to JB. I met with JB. So I drove up to Gainesville for like preview. But I drove up a day early, expecting a meeting with JB. Came in and sat with him for maybe 2 minutes. That was it. And I was like,
That was it.
that it? Like, that was it.
Who is JB for everyone to know?
JB is Jonathan Blake. He's our director of operations here. He's our guy. He's the man.
He's our guy. He's such a good dude. I hope we get him on here one day.
Yeah, he's awesome. No, so that was it. That's all I heard. I met with JB for 2 minutes, knew Caleb. And they told me, like, well, it's a little late. We have camp coming up. I'll let you know if something pops up. Go back home to South Florida, and probably 2.5 weeks later, I get an email say like about possibly working camp and to get in this paperwork. I worked 2 jobs at home. I was working at a basketball camp and I worked as someone at an ice cream store. I quit both jobs to work camp, like just to be here for camp and potentially make the most out of it. And right place, right time. I got extremely lucky and I'm blessed every single day because of it. And here I am. So
Man, that's awesome.
it was a crazy, crazy summer because I didn't expect to be here at all. And I didn't even realize what like the manager connection at Florida really was. Like you said, like people go on from here to be assistants in the NBA, like head coaches in the it is crazy the connections that this place has, and I didn't even know what I was walking into. So
Yeah.
I am extremely blessed and extremely lucky, but that's how I got here. It is it's a little
Well,
crazy.
it's by no incident. I've got a chance to get to know you, and I'm like, this kid's all. I mean, every manager that I've gotten to know has just been kind, hardworking, humble, funny. A lot of guys are hilarious as well, but that just goes to show, coach. None of the coaches will want anyone that's going to bring down that Florida brand. And
Mhm.
it's I looked up, I saw that you won some award back in 2019, the Max Brown
Yes.
Award. Is that
Yeah.
it? Yeah. I mean, it's no surprise that was able to follow. I mean, you received that just because of the way in which you carry yourself. And yeah, I mean, it's really not always about, who's the most talented or the smartest, but like, how do you treat people? How do you see people? How do you, like, from the day in and day out, are you reliable? Are you, are you a man of your word? You say you're going to do something and you do it. Or even like when a player's having a bad day or you're having a bad day, you still show up and do your job because like we're human. And I can imagine some days you're just like, man, I don't want to do this. I mean, it happens. It happens for the guy when we come to practice some days like, oh man, I don't feel like practicing today. And it's just like, still you show up and you do your job. And that's really cool. But I'm sure it was like a huge transition because
Oh my gosh.
you didn't know it, like, as simply as you put it a few minutes ago, help the coaches come, players play. Like, how was that transition when you first got there? Like, who was the head manager when you started, and like,
So
how did you? Yeah, fill me in.
So Jack Warren was the head manager. He's now the director of operations over at Jacksonville. And so when I got here, I was basically told by JB, hey, like it's basically a tryout. We're gonna throw you in for individual workouts. I mean, in high school drills, everything, it's like, oh, okay, like the coach explains everything. The horn went off and it just everything happened. And I was like, I looked like a deer in headlights. I had no idea what was going on. And Jack put his arm around me and he's like, go stand with the bigs and just pick your spots. Like you'll see when Coach Pinkins like needs a passer, you pass. When you need a rebounder, you rebound. If he needs a screen, if he needs you take a pad, like you'll get the feel of it. And that's really how it was. So the transition, I mean, I was forced to like really, really lock in more than I did when I played.
Yeah,
So it was definitely hectic, I would say. But the people around me and the staff were all understanding of,
yeah,
okay, well, this kid's new. He probably doesn't know what he's doing. So I made it, but
yeah.
it was it was definitely a little much.
That's awesome, man. Because it's you know every part of the organization. Like I wholeheartedly believe that success and greatness are things that no one just falls and stumbles into in an organization. How they always say you're as strong as the weakest link or whatever it may be. But from the way in which, from the janitors to the head coach in the organization, everyone being able to do their job, working as a team, communicating, being kind, like knowing that everything matters. Because easily, you can get ripped apart in that situation and you're just trying to help. And it was like, no, man, like I want to help the team win. I want to help you guys do your job. Because I listened to Dabo Swinney the other day, and he was like, the culture for Clemson, even though they're not doing great this year, it's wins and losses, I guarantee you they're still like holding true to their values of doing the common things uncommonly. The way in which you clean the locker room, the way in which, because I can just remember Coach Pelfrey ripped us a new one day, my junior year. We just had, the locker room was a mess. Guys were leaving the showers on, and he's like, this is just so disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't respect the process, and you're not respecting what it took, even just for the like, if you want to be simple, for the money that it costs to lay the foundation of the building, for that to be built, for it to be clean, for like, just, the simplicity to be able to play the game of basketball and be in that position. And you can't just do the small things right. And, that's why I really love, like, Coach White coming in right after Coach Donovan. And I'm like, man, they have the same principles. And it's had to be really awesome just working with Coach White. He's the only coach that you've known, but every interaction, I'm like, man, this guy, I would have played with Coach White in a heartbeat.
Yeah, coach is great. I love Coach White. I'll tell everybody I love Coach White. I probably tell my parents every single day I love Coach White. But no, it goes back to what you said about a culture. He preaches every day to be a man, and the second I heard that, I knew exactly what he was saying, and he doesn't just speak it, he lives that. Like, the way he acts, he's sure he's the head coach, he's not above everybody else. And I think that's what makes this place so special. Is I'll be sitting upstairs in the offices, and Coach White will come by every morning, every day. Like, he'll speak to you. It's not like you're not walked over. And it's awesome having a relationship with everybody on the staff. But yeah, I just love that type of place. It makes it all so much more enjoyable. You were saying before how short, like, there are things that we might not want to do. Sure, it comes with every job.
Comes with everything,
But when the man at the top is someone like Coach White, how can you not?
Yeah, that's so crazy you say that, bro. Like, it does take, like, anyone can preach of what you need to do and what you need to be, but people learn from what they see. Mm-hmm. And from every time I've seen, I'm like, man, I just, without hesitation, I'm like, not only do I love Coach White more as a man than I do as a coach, and I love him as a coach, but I'm just like, every day, I'm like, Coach, what drives you? And he's like, his family, and just wanting to be great, and just understanding that, everybody is just human. And it was funny. One day I opened the door for somebody coming out of a restaurant, and they're like, oh, you didn't have to do that. I was like, kindness is free.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, that cost me nothing, and I was like, just pass it on. And every time I interact with Coach White, even when I was texting him about getting a chance to interview one of you guys, he was all about it. And I'm like, dude, that just pumps me up even more. It just goes to show that he has a great. He was like, who should I recommend? And I'm like, oh, I already know. I'm going to talk to Max. But that's super cool. Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today, or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, like, as you you go into year 3. Actually, let's talk about, I want to talk about, so year 2, you transition, you start to get the hang of it. You're like, okay, I see where I fit in. When the coaches need me, how to fit in the roles, and creating this camaraderie with the guys. And then the whole season stops. Like,
Yeah.
how wild was that?
So yeah, at the end of year one, I mean it's as a freshman, I'm sure I don't know how it works in other programs, but here like you have to earn your road trips. As a freshman, obviously you're not going to have as many road trips as the seniors, the juniors, the grad assistants. So luckily I was on that SEC tournament trip. All of the managers were, and I remember getting that notification that Rudy Gobert, the whole COVID thing, and all of us kind of like took a moment. And we're like, okay, like so weird. And this is at a time where nobody really knew what COVID was, how significant it was, what the impacts would be. And then the next morning, we're setting up to play Georgia. They won their game the previous night. We're setting the jerseys out, sitting in team meal when Coach White stands up and says, "Hey, we're not going to play today. They're going to cancel the SEC tournament," and that's all we knew. So to me, I mean, I was devastated because I didn't get to go to the game and I didn't get to live this SEC tournament. I was more devastated for someone like KJ Blackshear.
KJ Blackshear, yeah.
KJ is not going to get to play his postseason tournament for the SEC. Like you play the whole season for postseason. That's the point, to get to March. And then we were packing the bus up to just head back to Gainesville, get back on the plane. And the Twitter notification came in, March Madness was canceled. As just a basketball fan, this has nothing to do with being a basketball manager, being with Florida. When I tell you I was devastated, it's the best time of the year. Yeah. It is nonstop basketball every single day. Like, and it's just ripped away. And we didn't know how big COVID was. So it was like, why is this happening? Then going into the second year, everything I learned from my first year was basically thrown out the window because we didn't have a locker room. Like this room that I'm in, our film room, we were not in the entire year at all. So the film room was gone. The locker room was gone. We had to sanitize basketballs, wear gloves while we rebound, mask while we rebound. Like our hands, you know, when you're in the shower for too long or the pool for too long, your hands with the gloves, when you take them off after practice, are pruned. And we're like, holy cow, it's just a crazy time. So COVID was an adjustment and a half. I mean, I give credit to the whole staff. I mean, to really everybody for handling it the way we did. You've had Duke on here.
Yeah.
Duke's the man. I mean, Duke kept everybody sane and safe throughout that whole time, but there were so many different, I mean, the travel parties, we would bring 3 managers on a normal trip, 4 to like tournaments. We were bringing 2 guys. Wow. So the expectations for us were lifted because 2 guys have to do what 3 would have done. And at times 2 would have to do what 4 would have done. So, I mean, it was definitely a tough year in terms of just responsibility, and COVID was crazy. And I'm sure around the country, everybody would say the same, but yeah, I mean, from learning everything my first year to then your second year it's really, okay, we're going to do this on the fly. We might play tomorrow. We might not. It was weird. It was a very odd year.
What did that teach you about life? Would you say, what was the biggest lesson or a few lessons you learned from going through last year?
I would say, I wouldn't say I learned it just from that. It just kind of really like punched it into my brain. Like, to be humble and to really like not take anything for granted. I'm so lucky, and JB and I will always talk about this, how I'm one of 7-8 managers for our team. There are over 45,000 students at this university. I'm sure there are plenty who would love to have this job, and I'm one of those people. So always, coach will always say, stay in the moment. And I think that applies to everything in life, not just basketball. And the COVID year really instilled that in everybody, especially me. But yeah, I mean, we were going through scouts for teams that we may or may not play, and then 2 days later, like, oh, we're leaving tomorrow to go play in Connecticut. Like, for us, like, we have to remake the lineup board, we have to change the jerseys, the socks, that, like, everything changes like that. So yeah, I mean, it's really just the biggest thing I would say I learned was to stay humble through it all, really
Yeah.
appreciate everything that is going on in the moment, and to not take it for granted. Because I mean, with the everything out, like, the whole season last year would be like, we never knew what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
So each
All
game
you
that we
could
got to
control is
play,
just the moment.
pardon?
All you could control is just the moment.
Yeah,
You know, just
exactly.
being present, like you said. You didn't know what.
Yeah,
I mean, and none of us know what tomorrow's going to hold in the grand
right.
scheme of things, but it was definitely magnified for you guys last season. What
Yeah.
would you say, obviously, as you just said and mentioned so well and articulated that so well, that you learned those lessons, and you're one of 8 managers. Obviously, you couldn't, and you learned humility. Obviously, no one can go through those things alone, and in that role, and being able to figure those things out. How were you able? You guys as a group, and whomever you want to shout out. Obviously, you want to shout your guys out. How were you guys able to stay together, and just, because I'm sure there were days you guys where one person was a little discouraged, or just like trying to understand, because it's natural, man. I mean, everyone was discouraged because it was just so uncomfortable
Mhm.
being that
Oh, of
uncomfortable
course.
for an extended period. So what did you guys do to just continue to cultivate camaraderie in the ways in which you could? And I'm sure you guys are super close now, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm extremely lucky as is. The group of managers that we had last year and this year, but specifically your question about last year, like, we were as close as could be last year. Andrew Ford was the head manager. He came in from Providence, and he was really the only one of 2 new guys, I would say. And he was right away thrown in as head manager. He was in charge. So, I mean, when you have a new leader, new coach, I'm sure it's like, okay, well, nobody really knows how this is going to go. We within the first 2 weeks, I would say a brotherhood between all of us was made.
That's awesome.
To this day, like, it's just a very honest group. If somebody's having a rough day, we'll just say something in the group chat and say, hey, like, it's not my day. Like, I might need someone to pick this up for me. Cool, I got it. If you need to switch a laundry day, like, I'll be the first one to say, like, I am very, very into mental health. Like,
Yeah.
like, if I need to take a day because I'm struggling, like, I'll take a day, and they won't, like, it's not like I'm gonna miss it and something's not gonna happen. I am in full confidence that it'll get done, and everybody picks it up. But we have a very good group here. Everybody loves each other. Everybody wants us to win and understands that as managers, there's things we need to get done to make sure that the players can play and the coaches can coach. So no, we just always have had this great connection between all of us, and the honesty helps. The communication is
Yeah.
huge, and through it all, we get stuff done.
That's awesome. Now let's transition a little bit. I know you got to have a story here or there of something just silly or extreme, or something that happened.
Well, I mean, one of the recent ones was, it was over the summer. Um, Coach White is always active. He's going on runs, doing his thing, whatever. So Coach White went out for a run one afternoon, And we looked outside, and it's like thundering out, and we're like, what's going on? So Andrew Ford, who I just mentioned, was about to head home. I'm like, I think I'm gonna stay. Like, I feel like this is a situation where coach would probably need a ride, right? So I text coach. I'm like, hey, coach, like, if it starts raining, like, just let me know. I'll be there. Whatever. No biggie. Says no problem. About 30 minutes later, he says, hey, I think you should come get me. It is full on the Gainesville thunderstorm. I'm like, okay, great. So I figure he's at the football stadium because, I mean, that's the usual path, I would say. Like that day, I'd feel like, okay, well, this is how long it could be. Let's guess there, middle of campus, sure. So I start texting him. Nothing says delivered. And I'm like, what's going? Like, did a phone line go out? His phone is dead. So now I park my car. I'm walking around the football stadium. And luckily, as I walk back to my car, Coach White walks out of the gate. And I'm like, Coach, like, let's go. So just perfect opportunity, I would say.
Perfect timing.
And then, yeah, great timing. And then we're in the car talking about just like whatever, nice car, whatever. I have Dave Matthews on. He's a huge Dave Matthews fan. I love Dave Matthews. He goes, you like Dave Matthews? Have you ever been to a concert? End up telling him, yeah, well, I was supposed to go to a concert, but I got an email from Miss Tracy saying, hey, do you want to come work camp? So I had to sell my tickets. Coach White says, you didn't go to Dave Matthews to see the game? What are you doing? What? The head coach. I'm like, what is going on? And then that led to coach showing me his Coldplay concert photos and told me this is the number one tip. I had a conversation with a friend about this last night. The number one tip he gave me is before I die, you need to see Coldplay live.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
And
I haven't seen them, but
the pictures look the same. So, I mean,
hey, I mean, after the season, you're trying to go in the summer, we can figure it out.
And then, yeah.
I'm
not going to say no to that one.
Don't tell me with a good time, right?
No, I love Coldplay. Absolutely. No, and then the other, I have a nickname of Visa by Coach White.
What is it?
Visa.
Visa,
like the credit card.
Oh, Visa, yeah.
So someone might have misplaced a credit card, hence the nickname. Yes, I'll embarrass myself. That is my first week of being a manager. Misplaced coach's card. That was not my highest moment. So from then on, coach called me Visa. So at the tournament, it is a long story. We don't have to get it. It was my fault. I'll take blame for it. It is my fault. Like, whatever. No, so this for the tournament, like I said, like our travel parties were smaller. So I ended up flying out myself to go to the game. I told JB, I'm not going to tell Coach White that. He has plenty of other scouts and things to worry about. We knocked off Virginia Tech. I'm like, you know what? In Butler, they have like the little balcony basically right over the court. Like, unbelievable gym.
I don't think I didn't play in Butler.
Okay. So I'll send you a picture after this. There is a balcony, like it's the seating on the baseline is legitimately like you're looking over the court. It is unbelievable.
That's awesome.
So that's where I'm sitting for the game. Coach White does his interview, walks over, done after the game. Coach, what up? Screams Visa, top of his lungs. Top of his lungs.
Visa.
Yeah. How'd you get here? I was like, used your credit card. And he started laughing. And that was from that moment on, Coach White and I have definitely had a much closer relationship just because now I can joke about being Visa myself as well.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
No, I mean,
you know.
Well, I took it to heart at first because my first impression with the head coach is
Yeah.
misplacing that. Great job, Max. Great.
Great job.
But I don't know now. Like, coach is great. I love being able to joke about that now, and I'm sure down the road, like my dream is to coach. Down the road, I'm sure I'll be able to look back at this and say, listen, like, hopefully when I'm standing as a head coach, wherever it may be, however long that may take, like, listen, I made it through and I lost a coach's credit card. Nice, Max. Nice job.
I know, right? That is a great story to tell. Hey, I might be here to tell, maybe to another manager under you one day, like, hey, this is what happened when I started. You can't do much worse than that.
I'll tell all the new guys we have, I'm like, listen, like, mistakes are going to happen. You won't make a bigger one than I did. So you don't have to worry about that.
So Max, you were just mentioning this is year 3. Obviously you're going to have a senior year, and then potentially if you're doing a graduate year, what are your plans, your hopes, and, proceeding after you finish up as a manager, after, we get the championship here or there, little tournament run, you know what I'm saying? Some hardware.
So, it's obviously tough to say. This field is so unpredictable. And I've seen it just from looking at our assistants and just the college basketball world in general. Like, a coaching gig is hard to get. Like, a Division I job, like it is very hard. There is one head coach at every school. So I understand that it's a grind to get there. My plan, obviously, this is what I have to do. You have to be a manager. I'm going to go to grad school, hopefully here. I'd love to take my graduate year here, graduate years, however long it would take. And then the next step from there, after being a GA, however many places I need to be, would be a director of operations. I know there's a long line of former Florida managers who are now director of operations with Ben at FAU, at Jacksonville, URI, Brown, Sam Hirschberg's. Like, there's a long line of history of Florida Gator managers moving on to be a Dobo elsewhere. So
even going on doing video coordinating.
Yeah, exactly. Well. Like, whatever it takes. Hopefully, whatever steps are necessary to eventually be a head coach.
Yeah,
that is the dream. But I understand it's a grind, and I understand there are levels to it. You really have to check every box of being the video guy, being the Dobo, being an assistant, doing whatever you need, like being a special assistant. I wish I could tell you there's an exact plan in motion, but it's really like, I'm going to continue to do everything I can for this program. And hopefully it leads me to the next step. And then at my next step, I'm going to do the same exact thing and more, and so on. So that's the dream.
It's so interesting. Obviously there's always the long-term goal and the vision of where you want to get to. And that's awesome. And you should have that. Everyone should have a direction in which they're going. But, the journey is just there is no one journey to it, but what you can control. And this is what I love so much when I had Jacob Kurtz on for the last episode, is that he just stuck to the process. Literally every day, let me just show up, do my job, create good relationships. Because we live in a generation now where so many kids and people just want instant gratification. They want things to happen so much quicker than it should be, but they don't realize, like, the person in front of them, grinded for years and years to get to that spot. And there's also people that want to become successful, and they only want to listen to, like, give it to me in an hour. Like, I can't give you everything I've done in the last 5 years in an hour. It's going to take you like a grind and a process. And, what you can control is just working towards that, every single day, and building great relationships, man. Because again, it's not always, the most qualified but the person that has just built those great relationships, they know you're reliable, they know you're disciplined, showing up, and that you love, you have that passion and love. I mean, you're in a position. I miss those college days so much, man. I wish I could, being removed from it. You're just like, dang, man, those are such great times.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just such a blessing being part of the organization. So last few questions before I let you go and continue on your day. What are you most excited for this upcoming season? As I mentioned, we mentioned earlier, you got 8 new guys, you create these new relationships. Everything's different practicing. You got to be super. It's going to be a good year. It's going to, now that I'm working for the SEC network, I think 7 or 8 teams from the SEC are going to make the tournament. That's my bold prediction is going to be 8 teams making the tournament, including the Gators.
I'll hold you to it. No, I mean, honestly, I'm really excited just for things to go back to normal. This is going to be my first year of things being normal, and I understand what's going on.
And you understand what's going on, yeah.
So I'm excited to have our guys walk out for introductions with all of the Rowdies there. Not it's some of it sectioned off and some of the cardboard cutouts. I'm excited to travel here and there. I'm excited for the Gator fans to be able to travel here and there. I'm really just, I'm excited to experience it all. I know it's a vague answer, but just, it's kind of going back to what you said, like, you have to love the process of all of this stuff. And I'm just excited to just experience it all. There's so many different like things you get to experience through basketball, which is crazy to me. Like, I love traveling. And there are going to be, from now to the end of my basketball career, the amount of places you go and the things you see are unbelievable. And it's because of this game and this ball that bounces. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. So
it took me overseas, bro.
yeah, but that's unbelievable. Like, that's a dream of mine, is to go overseas for basketball. Like, that's unbelievable. And I don't know, I think that's so special in itself that a simple object can unite so many people around the world. Because
Yeah.
game, like, we'll see Igor all the time. Igor is playing in Israel.
Yes.
Like that, like it's just there's love for the game everywhere, and there are so many different places that it can take you. So I'm excited for everything to go back to normal, and everyone can then experience and live basketball the way it is supposed to be shared.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, just that year out of not being able to travel and everything, the fans not being there, and just praying for a completely refreshment, restitution, getting it back, and a full restoration for everybody of like what we love. College sports was bringing us together. I always say this sometimes, that if everybody at some point in their life played team sports for a year or two, the world would be a better place. just play a little bit team sports.
This is another thing I'm very excited for. This, like, crazy excited for. Manager games are back.
That's right. I forgot.
So
I'm so bad. I forgot to bring that up, bro. My bad.
It's okay.
My bad, dog.
So this is something the fans will never see unless you're like you're on Twitter and you see it pop up here and there. So the night before a game, usually the teams, like, managers will reach out to each other, ask if they want to play a game. Last year, that wasn't a thing with COVID. Too many protocol, like, it just not possible. Now we're back to it. We can play games again. We've already scheduled one with FSU. They're already talking smack. I am so excited. I can speak for all of the managers, I'm sure, around the country. We are so excited for manager games to come back.
Do you have to be a manager? Do you have to be a manager?
So I mean, if you want to come down and play, like, I'm not going to stop you. I mean, we play FSU, and we have no problem with you suiting up against them.
We got Milwaukee on the 18th, and I'm actually covering that game.
We'll save a jersey for you.
All right,
I think we have one your size. We're good. Go in the gear.
Wow. They're like, oh, this guy's not a manager.
I mean, we played Furman my freshman year, and they're like 8th leading scorer ever, all-time leader in steals and rebounds was playing against us, and we're like, what are we gonna do? Like, so I'm sure you remember Chris Wavy. So Wavy was a great basketball player. He was a walk-on 2 years ago. He was a manager who got promoted to a walk-on. Luckily, we had him and were able to compete in that game. Man, if we didn't have Wavy for that one, oh my
gosh, that's crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, shoot, if I don't think I have anything planned. You said the day before, so you play on the 17th.
Yeah, that night most likely. We'll reach out to them and
reach out to them.
Hopefully, they didn't listen to this, so they're not going to run away from us. But we'll figure it out. Not a problem.
We'll see. I'm super excited for the season, man. Max, thank you so much for your time. Go ahead and give the people a quick shout out of your social.
It's at Max Forstot. MAX number 4 always STOT.
And then I know we have we got the managers Instagram or social, Twitter as well.
It's at UF managers. Easy.
Well, Max, thank you so much for your time. I wanted to, before we close this episode, Gator fans, we lost we're going back to normalcy and having our fans back in the building. We'll be one short this year. If you guys don't know of Jerome Millman, longtime, lifetime Gator, traveled to every single road game. Awesome man, awesome fan, awesome person, awesome life. We lost him on Friday. So if you can find his son's social media on Twitter, please send his son some love. It's Sean Millman, SeanMillman. One of the most sweetest men I've ever met. And we're gonna definitely, Gator Nation is gonna miss. He's been following the Gators his entire life. He truly bled orange and blue, and so sad that he's not gonna be able to come back out there this year. But I know he's gonna be with us in the spirit. But anyways, Max, thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to get this out to the airwaves for everyone to hear your story and just hopefully have way more appreciation for the managers, the guys that are on the side, just helping the coaches, the players to play. So Gator Nation, appreciate you guys again. This was the Young and the Rowdies, episode 7. You know what it does. Stay rowdy.